from Washington, this is VOA News. In Sierra Leone, no problems with a ban on celebrations. Russia's Putin takes a strong stand against sanctions. I'm Vincent Bruce reporting from Washington. A Sierra Leone government spokesman says Freetown is pleased with the cooperation of citizens after a ban on all public celebrations during Christmas began in a bid to contain Ebola. Government spokesman comments came after UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon praised the West African country's efforts to contain the Ebola outbreak during an official visit on Friday.
It might have been very difficult to change so long-held tradition and culture, but it is absolutely necessary to abide by WHO health guidelines, what we call protocol.
The police, army, and other security agencies have been deployed to enforce the nationwide ban. Russian President Vladimir Putin has remained defiant in the face of a spate of Western sanctions and a looming recession. In Moscow Saturday, Putin's foreign ministry promised to retaliate against new Western sanctions targeting Crimea, and the president urged Russians to prepare to undergo certain difficulties in the days and months ahead. U.S. President Barack Obama Friday imposed a wide-ranging trade ban on Crimea through an executive order that bars exports of key U.S. goods and services and blocks Crimean imports. Thousands of Kurdish Peshmerga fighters advanced on the militant group calling itself the Islamic State Saturday in the Sinjar Mountains of northwestern Iraq, 2 days after breaking a month-long siege that trapped thousands of persecuted Yazidi minorities. Kurdish leaders and journalists say Peshmerga forces backed by U.S.-led airstrikes swept across the northern side of Sinjar Mountain and were pushing southward towards Sinjar town. This is VOA News. Sony Pictures says it still hopes to release its controversial film about a plot to assassinate North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The comedy, titled The Interview, was the trigger for a massive computer attack on the Hollywood company. U.S. authorities have blamed that attack on North Korea. North Korea denies it was responsible for hacking Sony Pictures' computer network. The communist state, however, has praised the computer attack as a righteous deed. Pyongyang says it can prove it was not involved and proposed Saturday to carry out a joint investigation of the hacking incident with the United States. In Zambia, Information Minister Joseph Katima says acting President Guy Scott of the ruling Patriotic Front joining Edgar Lungu on the way to the Electoral Commission office in Lusaka has eased political tension. Supporters of the PF expressed concern after 14 cabinet members called for Mr. Scott's removal from office last week. The ministers accused the acting president of failing to support Lungu and undermining the party's efforts to win next month's election. Now that Lungu has formally filed his nomination papers, Katima says senior members of the PF, including members of parliament, are moving forward.
We go full swing into the campaigns. All the MPs, Patriotic Front MPs, who go in there, we are going into our constituencies to beef up or to ignite the already existing campaigns. I don't think that the party had gone to sleep, no.
The U.S. Defense Department has announced 4 Afghans held for more than a decade at the U.S. military prison in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, have been returned to their home country. Officials say the 4 detainees were released at the request of Afghan's President Ashraf Ghani after a review of their cases, including security factors. They say the release was a sign of confidence in Mr. Ghani, who has been in office for only a few months. A new diplomatic relationship with the United States does not necessarily mean the end of communism in Cuba. While U.S. President Barack Obama won praise from Cuba's leader Saturday for moving to restore diplomatic relations between Washington and Havana, President Raul Castro told his nation that this does not mean the end of communist rule in Cuba. The World Health Organization says the death toll from the Ebola epidemic in West Africa has topped 7,000. New figures show fatalities in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea climbed to 7,373, an increase of nearly 450 from the WHO's previous update on Wednesday. More on all these stories at our website, voanews.com. I'm Vincent Bruce, reporting from Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.